Thank you very much, Senator Aguilar. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak. I am a former educator. I taught high school. Most of my experience was in the inner cities. I also have been a businessman, invented a product, and did a variety of things so far in my life. And nothing has been more interesting than this business, nor more stressful. I got into this business primarily because I lost my wife to ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, about 4 years ago. During that period of time, I went out and bought marijuana on the streets here in Colorado because I did not know, having moved here in 2002, that it was, quote, legal. And it makes me angry now that none of the doctors even mentioned to me or my wife that cannabis was legal in this state. That would have given me an impetus to have gone to a center, to have learned more about cannabis and the different strains and so on, that can be very, very helpful, not only to ALS patients, but to all kinds of patients. My second wife now, I just remarried last weekend, is a cancer survivor. And she knows the benefits of cannabis from that point of view. We here in Colorado, all of us, you, Senator Aguilar, all of us that are in the business, as well as those that are opposed to the business, are involved in a pioneering effort. We are leading the way for this country. Indeed, I believe we're leading the way for the entire world as far as redefining cannabis from a plant with no medical value to something that is, as Mr. Corey described, a miracle plant. We don't know why it's a miracle plant. We don't know all of the ingredients, the various cannabinoids. There's over 60 cannabinoids that are in this plant. We don't know the interactions. And why don't we know it? Because for the last 70 years, there's been a prohibition against doing any research on cannabis in this country. Or very, very extremely limited, should say that. And that angers me because there are indications that the cannabis plant is helpful as far as ALS is concerned. We don't know the extent, but 70 years of wasted time that research could have been done that may have had some kind of beneficial effect on ALS. That's part of the reason that I'm in this. As far as being good for Colorado, I firmly believe that this has been a benefit for the state of Colorado, not just economically, but a benefit for patients. I had a patient come in just a couple of months ago, 90 years old, woman suffering from stage 2 colon cancer, who had lost like 35 or 40 pounds over the prior 3 or 4 months, undergoing treatment, could not eat. She came in, and on our table, she had her head down most of the time when her daughter brought her in. We started her on a regimen of edibles and tinctures, very low. 3 weeks later, she came back and said, I can eat again. The nausea's gone. Now let's start working on the pain. You want to tell me that that has no medical value for patients? That's why I'm in this business. Right now, in this pioneering effort, we are parallel. I like to describe it this way. We are parallel right now to what it was like for the labor union movement 100 years ago. It was fractured. It was unregulated. There was all kinds of competition, strife between the unions and so on. Same kind of thing 60 years ago with the civil rights movement. Various factions. Same thing with the feminist movement of the 80s and the 70s, and then the gay liberation movement. So we're a new movement. We are working hard to develop regulations. I'm also on the Department of Revenue's Advisory Committee to develop regulations for the industry. Regulations that are appropriate, that will benefit patients, and that will make this business thrive. And the business is extremely competitive. As Mr. Corey said, there's 1,000, it's not 1,000 dispensaries, it's 1,000 dispensaries and medical marijuana infused products companies in the state. The combination of the two is over 1,000. And yes, we are having a definite business impact. My calculations being on, I'm also president of ACT for Colorado, the Association of Cannabis Trades for Colorado, and based on surveys of my members, my estimate is that we have pumped into the state of Colorado close to $500 million in the last year and a half. Created probably around 8,000, minimum of 8,000 jobs throughout the state. Okay? Now, that's, quite frankly, too many. Market forces are going to diminish that number by a considerable extent over the next year or two. And some of the licensing fees, as he mentioned, are very expensive. So those things will reduce the actual number of centers throughout the state, but it's going to be primarily due to market forces that are going to do that.
I'm going to go ahead and cut you off. Sorry.
Okay, sure.
We'll let you talk again in a minute, Dr.